back, everyone. Today is going to be a full day in the kitchen. Josh has taken the baby and the older boys out to town so I can get some meal prep done for the week ahead. We do have quite a busy week, and I know that I'm not going to be able to do just our little things like our snacks and things like that. So he has graciously taken everyone out of the house. So today I want to chat with you guys while I work in the kitchen about the end of summer and end of summer gardening and just all the things. I want to know what you guys do. I want to tell you what I do and how we prepare for winter and get our garden set up for the season to come. Now, I want to talk to you guys also about how I used to do things and what I do differently now, because it is vastly different. When I first started gardening, I was in my early 20s. I was 20 or 21 actually. And I also had my first baby at 21. So gardening looked a whole lot different. The biggest mistake that I did is try to do a garden that was way bigger than what we needed. And also I planted things that we just didn't eat and didn't use. And I think that I did that because I thought in my head that I needed this huge garden filled with all of these things to just impress people. And that was very prideful of me. I should not have done that. So learned my lesson from that. So now looking back, that is one of the biggest things that I did change, was not planting and not over planting things that we don't use. So now we only plant things that we are actually going to eat, that my family actually likes, and things that we are going to be physically able to preserve. Because back then I done things like broccoli, and that I'm not saying that we don't like broccoli, we absolutely do, but that's just one of the things that was really hard for us to grow. We didn't have a fence up at our property back then, and so we did have several animals get into our stuff. I just feel like it was not worth the hassle to try to grow it and then lose it, if that makes sense. Another thing that we did change was how we weed and take care of weeds, because if you let your weeds get up in your garden so far, it's pretty much downhill from there. And that's what happened when we were younger, is we worked so much and wasn't able to get out and weed every day. So we ended up with a garden full of grass. And then we were using just a regular hoe and just trying to pull the weeds by hand. And it was physically exhausting and mentally draining and discouraging. So getting a tiller, getting an action hoe, if you don't know what an action hoe is, I didn't either. And when I found it, oh my goodness, I fell in love. It is my absolute favorite garden tool. And they're not really that expensive. So get you one of those. They will be your best friend in the garden. Just with like mulching, we decided to start mulching. My dad works for Asplund. It is a tree company up here where we are. And so we are able to get free mulch. And so that's what we use in between our rows. You can lay cardboard down. If it doesn't have any plastic, just lay you some cardboard down, lay your mulch, and it works absolute wonders for your garden. I know a lot of people do the fabric and stuff, but it can get very expensive. And I have actually tried that in the past, and it does not work that great because grass still grows up through the fabric over time. And then at the end of the season, you have to rip all that up, and it can get very annoying and frustrating. So, like I said, get with a tree company near you guys if you have one, and get you some free mulch. You can also use that mulch in your landscaping, in your flower beds, and it's free, and I love free. So, yeah, I would get on that for sure. Another thing is I got the mindset eventually to garden, because in the beginning, I just thought my parents did a garden, I can do a garden, and my hat was off to them raising all of us kids and working full-time jobs and getting the garden done, because I did not realize how difficult it was going to be. I wish that I would have done my research and gotten the mindset that this is what we are going to do and just set myself up better for success. I thought to myself, because I have this garden, I can put all this stuff in it and reap the benefits and me not have to do that much work. And that just was a horrible mindset, because it's kind of like how the Bible teaches, the Lord speaks about how you will know the tree by its fruits and things like that. But, how are we supposed to get our fruits and things if we're not pruned? And, the Bible teaches that the Lord prunes us. So that is the mindset that I have now. I tend to my garden, and I love my garden because the Lord has gave us this land to be worked daily, and we will see the growth and the benefits if we take care of it. And if we prune our vegetables and just take care of what God has given us, we will see the benefits from that. So that is the mindset that I have. It has changed. I didn't always have that mindset, but I'm thankful to God now that I do. This year, I was actually unable to do my best with the garden that we have because I did have a baby, and it was pretty difficult. I had him back in September, so he was still little when planting and all that came around, and I was still in very much my postpartum season, which that is definitely a video for another time, talking about all things postpartum and motherhood, because oh my goodness. However, I wasn't able to do my best, and that was pretty discouraging. We were able to get everything planted, but I did let weeds completely almost take over. So hopefully we will do better next year. We did have to cut half of our garden off this year. We purchased a pool for our children, and so the only level spot closest to the house was the garden area. So we did have to cut half of it off, and so we lost quite a bit of footage for this year and wasn't able to plant everything that we wanted. But hopefully next year, I'm going to have the small garden that we have close to the house, and then another one up in the field. Now, the one closest to the house, I'm going to keep our peppers, tomatoes, onions, things like that. I'm going to keep closer to the house. And then up in the field, I'm going to have a larger patch, and it will keep our green beans, potatoes, corn, and things like that. We do struggle with deer around here, so that is another one that we are going to have to get a good fence around. I showed you guys my sourdough starter. I don't know if this has happened to you guys. I had a very large sourdough starter, and I put it in the fridge for a few weeks, and I don't know what happened. I got it out to feed it, and it just would not come back to life. It still had small bubbles and things, but I've had to basically, I took some of the starter out of the larger container, put it in a small jar, and I had to completely redo my sourdough starter. We are on me doing this voiceover. It's been 7 days, and it's just now starting to get its oomph back. So let me know if that's happened to you guys and what causes that. I don't know if it just went dormant or what, but she was a pretty good seasoned starter. So I don't know what happened, but hopefully next week we will have her back up and running and be making all the sourdough things. With the end of summer here, we are actually going to be picking the rest of our green beans and pulling up everything that's left, because that was another big mistake that I made as a young gardener. I used to leave all of our produce on the garden, and I did not know that that was a big no-no. My grandmother actually came and visited me once and was like, it was the middle of winter too, so I had tall brown crusty weeds in the garden, or my garden area. My grandma was like, what in the world? And I was like, oh yeah, I'll just leave it and then till it up next year. And she was like, well, that can cause disease for your new crops and things like that. So from then on, we began to pull everything out, fertilize the soil, get it covered. Sometimes we do a really thick layer of hay, and that just protects the ground, and that has honestly helped us in the past. Also, once we clear everything out and just prepare for the winter season, we do a lot of preserving and canning. So what we do is summer gets too busy And we have all of this stuff coming in, all the tomatoes and the green beans. And, when you have kids, sometimes you're not able to can right then, and that's okay. You can take your tomatoes, put them in the freezer, and can in January and February, and that is completely okay. That gives you just like a small break because there is so much happening towards the end of summer and everything is coming in. If you guys had a summer like we had up here, like I've said this a million times already, my tomatoes did absolute squat this year. So I've had to purchase from local businesses in our area, just freeze and can in the winter months, because my green beans did really well. So those are our number one priority, to get those preserved. So we will be doing that. But I wanted to talk to you guys about canning and preserving also, because I know if you're in the younger generation, those things were not really taught to us. Yes, we grew up watching our grandmothers and our mothers do these things, but in my family, we didn't really sit down and take a day to teach the younger ones how to do these things. My grandmother showed me a little bit, but YouTube actually helps me more than anything. I'm not a master canner or preserver, but I will take you along how I do it eventually when we start getting into those winter months and are able to bring all this stuff out and start canning. There's so many rules nowadays in the ball books about, botulism and things like that. And I'm not saying that they are not a thing, because they are. But, back then they didn't really have the canning books, and they did what they could to get by. I remember my grandmother told me that my great-grandmother, she had 12 children. She used to can their green beans in a gallon mason jar outside in a washing pan, a metal washing pan, and that is how they did a bulk of their canning. It wasn't inside with all of like the things that we have nowadays. I feel like, honestly, we've kind of overcomplicated it over the years, but I also feel like it's a part of, not communicating from the older generation to the new generation on how to do things. And I feel like it's a lost art that we just need to bring back. Not saying that our canning ways are not good. They are very safe and very effective, but I just feel like the older generation knew how to get things done. And I wish that they would have communicated a whole lot more. Today we did actually get to make it to the farmer's market, and it was so nice. It was such a break to get out of the house for a little bit. I don't know if they do this at your farmer's market, but they offer kids bucks at ours, and so your children are allowed to get like $5 or $10 in like the food bucks, and they can spend that on local honey and eggs and produce and just support your local farmers. And that was so nice. So the boys had a ball up there. We are into the next day actually, and today was just a really slow day. Thank goodness. I didn't really do anything much today but make dinner. Believe it or not, your family still has to eat 3 meals a day, and I do try to cook those from scratch most days. I tell a lot of my family members when their children come over, they're like, "Oh, do you have snacks?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but they're probably not the snacks that you're going to want to eat," because I do not buy a lot of prepackaged snacks. We're an ingredient household, so I make a lot of our snacks from scratch, and most of our meals are from scratch every single day. Now, I'm definitely not saying that we are a all or nothing household, because if something is on sale, you bet your bottom dollar I'm going to be getting it and stocking up. Yeah, we are definitely not all or nothing. And if I can catch a good deal, we're going to take that deal. But a lot of the things I do like to make from scratch because it's just cheaper. Like when you sit down and look at it and do the math, it is just so much cheaper, and it's better for you to eat from home. So that is what we do. I also, during the meal prep the day before, made cinnamon rolls, but they were like the pecan sandy ones that you get from like Little Debbie. I didn't put an icing or anything on them, and they were just so good. My husband and children really enjoyed those. So I'm going to try to do start making those in bulk batches and get them put in the freezer. Because they were really simple to make and didn't take no time. I think they took like maybe an hour and a half. But for dinner tonight, I saw this Marry Me chicken, and this is kind of like a different version of it. It's kind of basically the same thing, but I just took some grilled chicken, cooked that up in a pan, added my butter and onion, and then I did a can of tomato sauce and some heavy cream. Now, I did not have homemade tomato sauce, which that is one of the things that I plan on doing. I really want to get enough tomatoes this year to do spaghetti sauce, pizza sauce, barbecue, some like marinara. I want to be able to get a majority of that canned up for this year to come, because that is the one thing that we use a ton of. But this came together absolutely beautifully, and it was so good. And I used some fresh herbs on this from the garden, which I got to get out and start preserving those and getting them dried out. Let me know how you guys do it, because I love the tips and tricks. But that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe before you leave, and just leave a comment. I love hearing from you guys. All right, I'll see you on the next one.